Soil condition.
Está temblando un poquitito. No se asusten, vamos a quedarnos. Les doy la hora. 7 de la mañana, Chihuahua, 7 de la mañana, 19 minutos 42 segundos, tiempo del centro de México. Sigue temblando un poquitito, pero pues vamos a tomarlo con una gran tranquilidad. Vamos a esperar un segundo para poder hablar.
"1985 events have radically changed the way an earthquake is understood by Mexican institutions. From a matter of security, freedom from danger, it has become mainly a matter of safety, freedom from risk, and definition of individual responsibilities." October 1985, Mexico City. This way, a painful and outraged population was asking for the identification and punishment of the responsible of the defective buildings that caused the death of thousands of people, and was soliciting the consequent compensation to the damaged and relatives. Biophysical condition. In the light of these well-abandoned areas, empty buildings, and cracks are passing remnant of the earthquake's danger, seismic joints and individualization fostered in the built environment are memories in continuous production of the earthquake's risk. Regimes of urbanization. Through urban planning, earthquake has been reduced to the definition of high-risk areas boundary into the city plan. Despite this, boundaries are not embedded into these seismic events. It manifests itself as a continuous event with localized different intensities. Unfortunately, the clear-cut socio-economical obstruction of the development plan and of its normative tools often clashes with the material reality of the city. Norma 10, for example, if in normal condition increases density and lower the housing unit cost, without damaging the profitability of the housing development. In seismic risk areas, the potential cost increase due to the structural requirement, destabilize the profitability of densification, opening space to risk speculations. We understand the actual city as a conflictual field where conditions and intentions differ, and where along these conflict responsibilities are defined. Sometimes, when it is too difficult to discern responsibilities, even condition and institution, by which intentions are normally measured, can be addressed. After several trials and enormous effort, both political and economical, to define 1985 earthquake damages responsibilities, the Mexican government, too, was placed under investigations and finally forced to deinstitutionalize its potential responsibilities. Creating the figure of the co-responsible of structural security, in order to revise even the architecture of building of public interest beyond their structural integrity. Against the development plan, we analyze Mexico City geology. The city is placed in a hydrological basin without connection with the sea, former site of a huge salt lake. The process of sedimentation caused by this condition of enclosure left formations of sedimentary clays, in which earthquake waves reverberate with dominant periods and localized intensities. Taking as a reference a mapping that was overlapping effects and registered intensity through 70s and 80s earthquakes. The allegation Cuauhtémoc can be read as a sea of earthquake waves, from which regularity we have to extract a bathymetry of risk. Where peaks imply an higher variation in environmental conditions and an implicit higher degree of public institution responsibilities, publicness, in the urban production. Therefore, if public concern is a space where conditions vary often, it is not the case that a lot of public buildings are still located in these peaks of risk. In these diffuse public risk, what can be the form and the population of an earthquake-driven milieu, a space with declared responsibilities? In order to incorporate the responsibilities of the city in production that we call urbanization, within a specific population defined by its earthquake urgency, we propose to substitute the city planning and its representativeness with a stochastic simulation that embodies the confrontation among the intention of development and the emergent condition of earthquake propagation in the soil. Scripting is space in which, through a process of iterations and evaluation, we test this confrontation and let its product to evolve towards maximum growth. Architectural diagram. Intentionally bypassing the individualization fostered by safety, we imagine the seismic joint not as an uncrossable threshold, but as a void space defined by the potential buttressing of neighbor buildings. Therefore, we understand this simulation as a matter of neighbor buildings, relationality and void finally defined. This relationality has been evaluated through the conic trace of the possible building positions in space. Process of differentiation. Earthquake intensity manifests itself in relationship with the period of vibration. The release of energy has got the peak, with the wave's period among 0.2 and 0.7 seconds. Being the potential instability of buildings influencing their actual critical length, it can be traced a relationship between earthquake intensities and theoretical maximum height of a building. In the same way, the possibility of building resonance according to different waves periods frames the range of building sizes allowed. The intersections of these conic frames set a possible collaboration among neighbors. Varying them, different organizations are produced, from an hyperbolic one with the average height of intersections lower to a parabolic one with the average height of intersections higher. Like a regesto of existing plot organizations shows, the appearance of the cores for vertical collective circulation discretize regularly the plots, producing different densities of connection with the ground. With the variation of densities of vertical cores in the plots, different organizations of a manzana are produced, from the impossibility of junctions to organized structures to complex ones. Applying the projected regime onto a matrix of manzanas with different accumulations of plot sizes, localized grouping patterns appear, and define the specific formations of in-between safe spaces, which soil is free from the introduction of horizontal forces by the built mass. Process of actualization. The evaluation of the earthquake localized intensities and periods in Cuauhtémoc offers us the ground for actualization. We propose to act where the variation of intensity is readable in relation with the manzana scale, a zone where the evaluation of risk is objectionable. In order not to interfere with the sewage infrastructures, the degree of intervention has been discretized mediating with the potential land subsidence. In this area, we propose to substitute buildings smaller than 4 stories, mostly individual properties and produced under a simplified seismic evaluation. The remaining voids define the intervention area. Actualizing an isolated site with low degree of earthquake intensity, no more towers are generated. Almost a repetition of the same floor plan, and no space around the base. Actualizing a site with a mid-degree of earthquake intensity and enough density of vertical cores, 2 towers join, highlighting the appearance of collective spaces for circulation interchange, and permitting the definition of a small safe space at ground level. Actualizing a site with a mid-degree of earthquake intensity and a higher density of possible cores, more towers join, increasing the complexity of neighborhood, and promoting a further liberation of the ground and a more consistent collective safe space. In more complex actualizations, bundle of towers that overcomes the manzana structure appear, even jumping across street, while the space defined by the towers acquires even more specificity and publicness. Applying the projected regime onto the entire test, a loose grammar for the city in production can be developed, with specific location on Berkeley link, with their specific kind of safe spaces in the ground level, and with a specific building phenotype. Being these safe spaces part of a public realm, it is possible to imagine the mass of the surrounding population exercising onto them an enormous social pressure with its after-earthquake need for spaces where to temporarily settle. At the metropolitan scale, safe border rewrite